The movie begins in the town of Ohio in 1956. Jonathan and Harry talk about school and scoring with girls while driving home. They see Marilyn and Rosalie by the side of the road. The young boys begin to admire Marilyn's gorgeous looks. Since he's too focused on Marilyn's gravity-defying knockers, Jonathan crashes the car into a fire hydrant. To help him out, Marilyn comes closer so that Jonathan can have a better look at her goodies. Fortunately for him, the damage isn't that bad. Later at home, Jonathan hears a motorcycle revving while reading his favorite adult magazine. As Kenny gazes out the window, he spots Eugene, the new kid in town, maneuvering his motorcycle with a carefree flair. Eugene's arrival is marked by a minor mishap when he accidentally collides with Kenny's car while acquainting himself with the neighborhood. Kenny and his girlfriend Bunny rush to check on Eugene, who, despite the crash, appears unarmed. After ensuring Eugene's well-being, the couple departs, leaving him to settle into his new surroundings. Later, Jonathan makes Eugene's acquaintance. Hailing from a country background, Jonathan is intrigued by Eugene's urban Chicago roots. Their interaction quickly shifts to a casual basketball game, during which Eugene probes Jonathan about the local social scene, specifically regarding girls. Through their conversation, Eugene reveals his intention to maintain a low profile, especially around girls, to avoid any trouble that could jeopardize his school standing. This cautious stance stems from past experiences where his charm led to complications. Jonathan, captivated by Eugene's tales and worldly demeanor, shares a personal detail about himself, revealing he's a virgin, which adds another layer to their budding friendship. Eugene also learns that Jonathan likes Marilyn, but she doesn't know he exists. Feeling sorry for his new friend, Eugene decides to visit the fair that night with Jonathan. Later that night, Jonathan sees Rosalie, Marilyn, and Bunny at a kissing booth. He takes a spin on the wheel, hoping to land Marilyn, but ends up winning a kiss from Rosalie instead. Eugene takes a spin and lands Marilyn on the first try. He doesn't hold back in kissing her, which makes Jonathan annoyed. Bunny also seems annoyed that Eugene kissed Marilyn, not her. Since his real target is Bunny, Eugene borrows money from Jonathan to have another go at the wheel. He manages to land Bunny and takes his time kissing her. Kenny sees his girlfriend being naughty, so he marks his territory. While leaving the fair, Eugene offers a bet about turning Jonathan into a booty magnet in a month. He says it's a way to beat boredom and stay out of trouble. Feeling a little insulted, Jonathan walks away from the deal for now. The next day, Jonathan changes his mind and takes up the bet. When they arrive at school later, Eugene gets to work and teaches Jonathan the basics. He teaches him to peek at Marilyn's skirt, but their teacher catches Jonathan pitching his tent. Later that afternoon, Jonathan tries impressing Marilyn with his bike skills. In a clumsy moment, Jonathan gets distracted and ends up crashing into a car. Marilyn comes to his aid, tenderly tending to his bleeding mouth. Amidst this act of kindness, Jonathan boldly seizes the opportunity to make an inappropriate gesture, which Marilyn surprisingly seems to overlook, focusing instead on cleaning his wound with her handkerchief. Later, as they celebrate Jonathan's audacious move, Eugene encounters Bunny by the jukebox. He impresses her with his eclectic music taste, and she finds herself drawn to his charm, even revealing that her relationship with Kenny isn't as serious as it appears. The dynamics shift when Marilyn reappears, this time extending an invitation to Eugene for a movie date, which he accepts. This development stirs a mix of emotions in Jonathan, who reacts with displeasure to his friend's newfound attention, hinting at a brewing tension among the group. They go outside, and Eugene explains it's an opportunity for them. He says he has a plan, and tells Jonathan to invite Bunny. During the movie date, Jonathan watches in jealousy as Marilyn flirts with Eugene. Bunny gets jealous, so she flirts with Jonathan too. Unfortunately, Kenny's friends see them and immediately tell Kenny. It doesn't take long until Kenny jumps into action and confronts Jonathan. Eugene butts in and reveals he's the one that asked Bunny out. Eventually, the night ended with Kenny and Eugene testing each other's balls and destroying their father's car. Since Eugene doesn't show up to school the next day, Jonathan decides to visit him at his house. He learns that Eugene's father grounded him. The two then get drunk while roaming around town on a motorcycle. Kenny sees the drunk friends and reports them to the police. Shortly after that, Jonathan and Eugene get pulled over crashing into a bush. Fortunately, the police officer hates snitches, so he lets them go with just a warning. The two try sobering up before going home. Jonathan talks about his plans for the future and learns about Eugene's sad past. Before going home, they end up in front of the department store owned by Kenny's family. They then decide to serve some sweet revenge on Kenny. When Jonathan wakes up in the morning, he's shocked to see a mannequin with him in bed. Before going to school, Jonathan and Eugene admire their handiwork at the department store. Later at school, Eugene asks Bunny out on a date, and she agrees. In the afternoon, Jonathan sees Eugene working at the gas station. It seems he's working to pay for the repairs of his father's car. He then pesters Jonathan about the bed and Marilyn, hoping to ease the peer pressure. Jonathan calls Marilyn and asks her out on a date. To both their surprise, she agrees. Jonathan's celebration quickly ends after Eugene tells them to reach third base. Later that night, Bunny sneaks out for her date with Eugene. Meanwhile, Jonathan makes out with Marilyn at the end of their date. After that night, both the boys get on more dates with the girls and get closer to each other. One day, both couples have a date on a nearby ranch. Eugene talks about his dreams of owning a stable someday with Bunny. Meanwhile, Jonathan gets to work on Marilyn's juicy lips inside his car. Their intimacy reaches a boiling point, and Jonathan decides it's time to make his big move. Marilyn tries stopping him, but Jonathan is too thirsty after 17 years of no action. In the end, he accidentally rips her undies while they fall out of the car. Then again, 17 years of self-service will do that to you. As the evening unfolds, Marilyn candidly shares her displeasure with Jonathan, criticizing his earlier actions. Yet, there's a twist in her tone as she departs. She admits to finding an intriguing contrast in him, his outwardly harmless appearance belied by an underlying sense of danger. This revelation is followed by an enticing hint. Her parents won't be home over the upcoming weekend. When the much-anticipated weekend rolls around, Jonathan makes his way to Marilyn's house, where the air is thick with expectation. The two of them embrace the vulnerability of the moment, shedding their clothes and retreating to the sanctuary of the bedroom, setting the stage for an intimate and revealing encounter. Those knockers do be defying gravity. Marilyn hesitates after learning that Jonathan didn't bring his raincoat. She does change her mind after her boy says he'll settle for just the tip. Despite Marilyn constantly reminding him, Jonathan fails to exit stage right. Marilyn gets angry with him. Just when he's about to apologize, her parents suddenly return home. Marilyn rushes to get Jonathan out of the house through the roof. While escaping, Marilyn's mother sees Jonathan. While taking their polio shots the next day, Eugene asks Bunny out on another date. She takes a rain check since she'll be having dinner with her parents that night. When Eugene tries to surprise her that night, he finds Kenny joining them for dinner. The next day, an angry and jealous Eugene confronts Bunny about their dinner party. She tries to explain her side, but things don't work out. Meanwhile, Marilyn makes up for not talking to Jonathan lately by asking him to prom 6 weeks from now. Later that night, Eugene and Jonathan get into a fight with Kenny and his gang. Things go out of hand. Jonathan breaks his arm, and Eugene's father gets forced to pay the damages. Tired of cleaning up his son's mess, Eugene's father kicks him out of their house that night. Eugene disappears for several days, leaving Jonathan and Bunny concerned for his safety. Bunny feels everything is her fault and regrets not standing up for Eugene. Before leaving, she tells Jonathan to inform her of any news about her lover. Time passes, and Eugene still doesn't show up. One day, Marilyn talks to Jonathan and cancels their prom date. The prom night takes an unexpected turn when a renowned quarterback alumnus returns to his alma mater, setting his sights on Marilyn as his date for the event. Feeling betrayed and overwhelmed, Jonathan takes a drastic step, decisively ending his relationship with Marilyn in a bold move. As prom festivities carry on, Jonathan finds solace in solitude at a local diner, mulling over the choices he's made. It's here that Eugene, an old friend, unexpectedly joins him, bringing a moment of camaraderie amidst Jonathan's introspection. Eager to reconnect, Eugene expresses a desire to see Bunny, prompting Jonathan to accompany him to the prom. Upon their arrival, the dynamic shifts dramatically as Eugene lays eyes on Bunny, not alone, but in the company of Kenny, dancing and seemingly enjoying the prom night together. This sight introduces a new layer of complexity to the evening, stirring a mix of emotions and setting the stage for further developments. One of the faculty members then tells the boys to leave since Eugene is no longer a student. Kenny sees them and decides to pick another fight. However, Eugene doesn't bite and says Kenny isn't worth the trouble. The two boys then exit the venue while Bunny leaves Kenny behind and tries going after Eugene. Later, Eugene tells Jonathan what happened to him. It turns out that after getting kicked out, Eugene went to Kentucky and found a job as a stable boy. He says that he's happy with his life now and only came back to get Bunny to run away with him. Jonathan then tells Eugene that Bunny cares about him. Since Jonathan will be leaving for college next year, Eugene feels there's no reason for him to stay. Since Jonathan plans to be a dentist, Eugene jokes about visiting him someday and having him fix his teeth. Jonathan then opens up about Marilyn and how he was wrong about her. He believes that he was too focused on smashing that he failed to get to know her first. Jonathan then swears he'll never look at a pair of bouncy peaks ever again. Shortly after that, Jonathan fetches Bunny and takes her to see Eugene. They talk while Jonathan waits for them from a distance. When they return to meet Jonathan, Bunny reveals she'll run away with Eugene to Kentucky. She asks Jonathan to tell her parents about her decision, and that she'll be fine. Eugene offers to drop Jonathan in town, but he declines. He believes that Eugene and Bunny will need all the head start they can get. In a poignant farewell, a visibly emotional Jonathan embraces Eugene, marking a moment of genuine connection and support between the two friends. After Eugene departs, Jonathan, carrying a message from Bunny, makes his way to her father to deliver it, then heads to the local diner, a place that seems to be his refuge during turbulent times. At the diner, tensions escalate when Kenny confronts Jonathan about Eugene, leading to a heated exchange. Frustrated and pushed to his limit, Jonathan decides to take a stand, resulting in a spontaneous and reckless episode of bumper cars that culminates in Kenny's car crashing into a fire hydrant, a symbol of Jonathan's breaking point and a moment of cathartic release. Following this chaotic interlude, Jonathan returns to the diner, seeking solace in the familiar setting. There, he finds a glimmer of hope and perhaps a chance for a new beginning as he asks Rosalie, a presence in the diner, out on a date, signaling a potential new chapter in his journey. Damn, she is looking fine now. Rosalie agrees to the date. Jonathan's car then falls apart, so they decide to use her car during their date instead. The movie ends as Jonathan drives off while Rosalie smiles in amazement at how much she has changed. Subscribe for more videos like this. Turn on notifications and leave a like. It really helps the channel.